Now with these next videos you're about to watch, I might not just be committing career suicide, but actual suicide. If everything she says is true, then these people are extremely dangerous. Now you guys may know from watching my videos, I have sole custody of my daughter. I never fought harder for anything else in my life. That was to protect her from anything remotely close from what you're about to hear in these videos. And for that exact reason, I have to post these videos. I can't think of anything more important I could do right now. I hope that these videos could help prevent this from happening to anybody else, and also help anybody that it is already happening to. So before we get started, I just want to let my daughter know that I love her, and everything that I'm doing and have done have been for her.
Okay, yeah, so I'm starting a YouTube channel called Journey, the number 2, me, with me. And the reason why it's called that is because I have a lot to talk about. So I'm a published author. I have a book called No Safe Place from Childhood Abuse to Sex Trafficking. So I am a survivor thriver, because I'm thriving, but a survivor thriver of MK Ultra mind control, Satanic Ritual abuse, and human trafficking.
What does it mean exactly?
Like by what?
Everything you just said. You said satanic.
So,
you said,
yeah. My father was a satanic leader.
Well, okay. First off, you said ML something.
MK Ultra.
MK Ultra. What's that?
It's called MK Ultra. There's Monarch Mind Control. It's called many different things, but it's basically something that's happening more frequently than you think, and it's coming from the elite. So the governmental high levels, the Rothschilds, all of that.
What do you mean exactly?
Like the top third, like you'll have to look it up.
I know about I know you mean by the elite and stuff like that, but I mean like
so the mind control. So what they do is, so my father, for instance, was a satanic leader. So when I was in the womb, it started with me, and my father would channel spirits through his body, entities, whatever you want to call it. He would use hypnosis on me at a very early age. He would use stun guns. So all of that, so what they do is when you're very young, they test what your giftings are. Like, they do a test on you as an infant. And then they start to decide, okay, this is what I'm going to program you to be. So for me, it was a beta kitten is what they call it. And so it was that I would be a server of man.
A beta kitten is what they call it?
Yeah, a beta kitten is what they call it when you've been programmed to be a sexual slave or whatever the case may be. And then so then they start programming you. So by the age or an early age of like 5 years old or sooner, you're already programmed into what they're going to have you be. And then your handler, of course, is always there. They can, like my father could use hand gestures. He was my handler.
So when they start that young?
Oh, it starts very young.
I don't even want to go in detail with that part. Just one.
And what they do, how they program you, is they use hypnosis, they use stun guns and stuff of that sort, but they use extreme torture so that you are so tortured that you disassociate. And so when you're disassociated is whenever they're able to start programming what they call different alters. So it goes really deep. You can look up on YouTube, Monarch Mind Control, MK Ultra. You can also go to, I got out of the life. I was trafficked for 20 years. I started a nonprofit called Loving You Where You Are At, all spelled out. And so that I started that in 2012. And what I do is go out and reach those that are working in the commercial sex industry or that are being trafficked. So I go back out and help them.
That's
and
good.
So
that's the thriver part.
So the website is www.lovingyouwhereyouareat.com, all spelled out. And you can learn a lot more. There's a lot of radio interviews I've done. You can read more about my book. I did a thing on the 700 Club, so you can learn a lot more about just the programming and all of that.
This is really, really unbelievable stuff. Unfortunately, it is believable because of what's going on. And it kind of sounds like what's going on with R. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And
what he's doing with the girls and the mind control and the girls. What happens is with trafficking, even people think that trafficking looks like the movie Taken, and that's less than 5% of cases in the United States. It looks much different here, and trafficking is by force, fraud, or coercion. So a lot of times how it happens is with R. Kelly's situation, in my opinion, is he was like a Romeo. You know, he was star status, he got these girls and he fed them their dreams, he was a Romeo, and then once he had them where he wanted them, because that's what they do, they prey on your vulnerabilities, and once they get you where they want you, then they have you're going to do whatever you want, you know, whatever he wants, because he's already preyed on their vulnerabilities. So now they think, well, he loves me, you know, maybe they've been lacking that somewhere in their life, so now he's validating them.
Yeah, because there's like a psychosis break, yes, where all of a sudden they don't, not thinking
right,
like the normal selves.
Yeah, so Stockholm syndrome comes into play, trauma bonding. So I think the main character, I didn't mean to say character, but the main girl, I believe, is Jocelyn, that's been with him for the longest amount of time, that her parents haven't seen her or heard from her for many years. And so what he has done is he's made her think, and I'm just going to be frank, like in the trafficking world, like you've got the bottom bitch is what they call it, and that's actually the girl that is considered the top of the stable. So she is the one who trains all the other girls, keeps all the other girls in line, and so she, in her mind, thinks that she is his top girl, that he really loves her, and because of R. Kelly's status as far as being an entertainer, you find a lot of the mind control and MK Ultra in the entertainment industry, and in politics. And
unfortunately, that's why, you know, this hashtag Me Too stuff is happening. Yes. It's because a lot of the times it's been swept under the rug easily because of the fact that these girls unfortunately had that MK Ultra where, yes, they were able to accept it for what it was. And
right.
It's
and it's starting to come out a lot now. Like, yes, you're starting to hear more and more people that are starting to open up and come out with it. But the unfortunate thing is sometimes when big people, like, okay, so like for instance, Kanye West, he had that big breakdown, you know, they called it, during one of his concerts, but he was actually speaking truth. He was waking up to the mind control. And so they Baker acted him and put him into a mental hospital.
Right, okay.
So they do that because this is so big that even the hospitals and the mental hospitals, they have people on the inside that are a part of this. Like if you were to get my book, No Safe Place from Childhood Abuse to Sex Trafficking, you would read that my father had me put into a mental hospital at 10 years old with adults and not children. I was born in my father and my mom lived in Lakeland, but my father had my mom go all the way to Dunedin Hospital while she was in labor with me. And the reason for being is that was the only hospital that would not make my mom have to have drugs, you know, anything while she was having me. So there was somebody on the inside at that hospital because they did not want me. I needed to see my handler first when I came, you know, when I was born, and they didn't want my mom to have drugs or whatever in her that would affect me. They wanted me to be very alert.
Now, would this be, would you say Illuminati?
It is Illuminati. So Illuminati, Satanic Ritual Abuse, MK Ultra, Monarch Mind Control, it's all the same thing. It's just different aspects. Masons, Freemasons, it's all part of it.
It's all like this. It's the same.
It is. It's just different branches, different names, but it's all.
This is what my first thought was when you mentioned the MK Ultra and what it was there was something I watched about Cardi B where she was talking to somebody and then she said something that was out of place and then she kind of just like snapped.
That's called a glitch.
It looked into like space and was.
So they call that a glitch.
And that's why, you know, I started wondering, you know, and I also know the Satanic Rituals and Illuminati tend to tie in, and it's really crazy to actually hear someone that's lived and experienced it. And one thing that caught my attention is when you mentioned gifts. So you said there's different gifts?
Well, they test your IQ and different stuff. So like, for instance, they go by how they test you. That's how they decide, are you going to be programmed to go into politics. Okay, so like the Clintons and other, like the Bushes and other big name politicians are programmers. Okay, so
programmers or programs?
They are programmers. Like they do it. Like okay, so anybody can look up the Q movement or whatever on YouTube, but if you really go on there and you really start looking into some of this stuff, you will find that Hillary Clinton and there's a lot of indictments getting ready to happen on them. It's just a matter of time, because they run pedophilia rings. They are a part of this. I
heard about something in the basement of a pizza place, but then
the Pizzagate, that's another thing, and that's
but then
where
I heard that was debunked, and it was not even a basement or something like that. So.
It's not debunked though, if you really look into it. It's very real. What's his name? Jeff Einstein, I believe, who just got released from prison. He had a place in Palm something, an island in Florida, and they would have big politicians and other big name people come in, and they had underage girls and even regular age girls in there that were being used as sex slaves there. This is very real, and it doesn't take, I mean, you can hear it from me. I've survived it, I've lived it, I've overcome it, I expose it. But really go in on your own and just look up on YouTube Monarch Mind Control, MK Ultra, Illuminati, and listen to other people's stories who have survived it, and really start digging into it. And it's gonna take you down a rabbit hole, and you're gonna be mind blown, because most people are like, it's too big for most people to comprehend. So most people just want to be like, this is not happening, this is too much, but it's happening.
Right,
and what has happened is, so human trafficking is not a what, it's a who, and it has basically infiltrated every part of our society from the top, the elite. That's why human trafficking numbers aren't going down, they keep rising, because government officials and the elite are involved. It's all about money. It's all about money. And they're Luciferian worshippers. That's what they call it.
This is very upsetting, and I appreciate everything, the conversation you're sharing, and the fact that you're helping the survivors, and you're become thrivers like yourself. I do want to ask one thing, because I have an interesting episode with a working girl, and she talks about how Trump gets rid of Backpage, or the administration, at least, if anything, but with that, that makes me think, was that so they had more control over it?
Backpage?
The fact that they got rid of these websites where these girls could pretty much pimp themselves, for lack of better terms.
Okay, so this is the thing. No little girl dreams of growing up and being sexually abused, and no little boy dreams of growing up and being sexually abused. Something goes terribly wrong along the way, because boys and girls are trafficked. Children and adults are trafficked. So many of these women who were on Backpage and started advertising themselves, at some point were abused and were advertised. Once I broke free from my traffickers, I went back on my own. I was on Backpage, many years ago, and I went back on my own, because at that point, you don't even realize you've been trafficked. You think that you just chose to be in prostitution. You think you've crossed so many lines you thought you'd never cross. So you end up going back on your own. Now, there are some women that were on there that were just doing it, but I guarantee you there's a story behind it that they're not sharing, because when you're in that life, shame covers you. Well, and you have to put on a facade when you're doing it. You have to act like it's all great, because if you let go of that facade, then you have to internalize the pain, and then you're not going to be capable of doing that work.
Well, the thing with the whole, Backpage, selling children or whatever, as you already mentioned, that's obviously something that's happening with or without Backpage, unfortunately. The thing that I'm wondering is that, is the reason why they're getting rid of it is because they're not the ones that are doing it.
No, well, there's now, it might be down, but there's other sites now that they're going to.
I'm not surprised.
5 million. I mean, there's not 5 billion, there probably are 5 million, but I mean, I'm just saying a number, but
well, I'm not,
there are
tons.
I'm
not going to look that up for you guys. I don't need FBI kicking down my door. Well, anyway, let that be to them, whatever, teach them. But I'm gonna wrap this up. Unfortunately,
Okay.
Well, again, appreciate everything that that you're doing, and this conversation able and willing to share it.
No, you can share it. I mean, I'm all about, if my story can bring hope to just one person, or open the eyes of just one person, then that's what it's all about. Because you know what? We all can't do everything in this fight, but we all can do something. And so think about what your one thing is that you can do.
Unfortunately, it's a story that I've heard more times than I'd want to, and I'm sure some girls are out there could use another voice to kind of let them feel like they're not the only ones, because that's one of the biggest things I believe what comes with that MK Ultras. They feel it's something about them that is specifically, and if they realize that it's not them and that other girls are being controlled and just like them,
and other people,
sorry,
and they think, honestly, it sounds so crazy that you're actually programmed with alters that come forward to make you not say anything, because people keep silent about it because they know that if they start talking about it, they're going to sound like a basket case to the normal world that's not paying attention.
They may be afraid of repercussions if it is true stuff,
And there are repercussions, because when you're bit high up in it, I mean, Prince was starting to wake up, and then boom, all of a sudden he has a drug overdose. So they do. I mean, when you're high up and you're speaking out about it, they do eliminate you because they don't want their secrets told. So there's so much that comes with that. But I will say this, and then I know this is getting long, but I have had many girls and other people who have come to me and been like, oh my gosh, like, I have been going through this and never been able to talk to anybody about it. So you can find me on the website I gave you, lovingyouwhereyouareat.com, all spelled out. And if this is something that you're going through, or you know somebody who has, just reach out, and we're here.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
But with all this, mind control is only one part of what you've been through. You also mentioned how you've been a victim of sex trafficking. So how did that all come about for you?
In that moment, I started realizing there is a whole lot more that's expected of me.
One of the craziest, most unbelievable things that you mentioned are Satanic Rituals.
There was actually a blood sacrifice that was made over me.
How were you able to get out of the mind control?